Okay, so here we are, and this week is one of my favorite topics. It is the lungs and the breath. So, we're going to be looking at detoxifying the lungs. Lungs are one of the major um, systems for elimination of toxins in the body. And we've looked at a few of them already, but the lungs are very dear to me because it's so associated with the breath, and the breath is our connection to prana, which is our life force. And that life force comes in on the breath. And the life force is that life force of the universe. It is, in Christian terms, it is called the Holy Spirit. It is that energy that animates our whole physical being and allows us to live. So that's why the breath is so important, and that's why it's so important to keep those lungs functioning really well. So let me tell you a little bit about the lungs. They are responsible for taking in oxygen, of course, but also for eliminating carbon dioxide and the toxins that come out on the breath. So we're actually eliminating toxins when we exhale. And deep breathing, if we engage in deep breathing, it actually alkalizes the blood. So it makes the blood more alkaline, which is a good thing because if the blood is too acidic, it sets up a condition for um, disease. Disease flourishes in an acidic environment. And so we want to learn how to do the deep breathing. Today I'm not going to focus on that, but I will be showing you a very special breath and movement, associated movement, that you can use to detoxify the lungs and to bring that oxygen really deeply down deep into the lungs so that it attaches to the red blood cells that are deep in the lungs, and so that that oxygen can circulate through your bloodstream and reach all the organs, the brain, and the glands in your body to remove the acidity. So the lungs now are, how does breathing, how does pranayama, okay? It's called pranayama in yogic terms. How does that help the lungs and the physiology? So pranayama and breathing pump the cerebral spinal fluid to the brain. Every time we inhale, that breath goes in. We think it just goes down into the lungs. Actually, it goes up over the brain, down the back of the brain, and down the left side of the spinal column. And then when we exhale, the breath comes up all through all those very subtle nerve channels on the right side of the spine, and then out through the nose. And so every time we inhale and exhale, it actually moves the spinal fluid in our spine. And that stimulates the spinal fluid to move up into the brain, stimulates the brain. So the deep breathing can actually help to alleviate depression or a depressed state because the blood is circulating in the brain and it stimulates certain chemicals in the brain that can help to overcome depression. So what else does the breathing do? It affects the patterns of the heart's rhythm. So we can actually change the heart's rhythm via our breath. Deep breathing reduces toxic buildup in the lungs and properly cleanses the alveolar sacs. So the lungs, if we spread out the surface area of the lungs, it would be the size of a tennis court. So that's how much area is in our lungs. And so when we breathe properly, all of those very, very tiny sacs that are in our lungs get cleansed. So let's see what else. And breathing, deep breathing, balances the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system and allows a deep and effective relaxation to happen. And we need that in order for proper digestion. It also, deep breathing, uh, every time we breathe, it creates a pulsing in this whole frontal lobe across here where the pituitary gland resides deep inside, and that is our master gland. Okay, so when we're breathing properly and deeply and fully, it stimulates that pituitary gland, the master gland, which in turn uh, stimulates the functioning of all the other glands in our body. That's the purpose of the pituitary gland, but also it stimulates our intuition, and we can tap into our intuition when we're breathing more deeply. The deep breathing cleanses the blood and all the different nerve channels in the body. The deep breathing helps to break unconscious patterns, unhealthy patterns, and addictions that we have just through the breath. Each breath also, all the internal organs dance and move. It's a kinetic energy of the breath, the air moving in and out of the lungs. It moves our heart, affects our heart's functioning and movement. It moves the liver. The liver kind of moves on its axis. The spleen moves. The stomach moves. The large intestine, it's the deep breathing stimulates the peristaltic movement of the large intestines. So I can just go on and on. So now let me talk about other things here. Foods, the lungs are injured. Now this is maybe something that's very new for you. The lungs are injured by either excess dryness or dampness. Now we're talking about our environment. Okay, so in the winter, the air is very dry, and our lungs are affected by that. If we're in an environment that's too damp, that will also affect our lungs, because let's say we're inhaling mold spores maybe because it's too damp, so that's going to affect our lungs. So the foods that we choose need to contribute to a balanced environment for the lungs. So we want foods that are going to moisten dryness. So we want moist foods for our body that will affect our lung health. So things like organic tofu, tempeh, which is organic soy, fermented. Spinach is very moist. Barley is very moist. Millet, pears are very moist, can create a moist condition in the body. Seaweeds create a moist condition in the body. Soaked almonds, sesame seeds in the form of sesame paste, such as tahini, is very moist. Ground flaxseed has that mucilaginous property. Flaxseed oil, hemp seed oil, and extra virgin olive oil. These oils actually create feed the surfactant in the lungs, which is a kind of an oily coating that's in the lungs, which is necessary to maintain moistness. So eating an oil-free diet can actually be very dangerous, can dangerously affect the functioning of the lungs, because it needs that lubricant. The lungs need that lubricant. So I'm going to show you a breath work and a movement, and it's called an exercise set for the lungs and the bloodstream. This is one that's developed by Yogi Bhajan, or taught by Yogi Bhajan when he was alive. And it's an excellent way to build stamina and to make the blood suck up oxygen from the lungs. It helps the heart muscles regulate and to organize themselves. It helps the kidneys and the gonads and the adrenals because it stimulates them. This breath work and the movement, associated movement, forces oxygen deep into the lungs where it normally doesn't reach, where the oxygen normally doesn't go, because we're not breathing deeply. And the red blood cells in those deep recesses of the lungs will take up the maximum oxygen and circulate that through the bloodstream. So when there's less than maximum oxygen in our bloodstream, our system, well, let's see, the brain and the body's organs and the glands are unable to function properly because they're not getting the proper oxygen. So that our systems break down, and this causes illness. So we'll do this exercise for 3 minutes today, but if you want to, you can gradually work up to 11 minutes daily with this exercise, and it will purify the bloodstream very well. And it also will elasticize the lungs, and you'll be able to breathe more deeply. So ideally, what we're going to do is we're going to inhale, allowing the belly to expand on the inhale, and then we're going to suspend that breath. And ideally, we want to work up to suspending the breath for 1 full minute. But today, you can just do it as long as you can comfortably without putting pressure on your diaphragm and without gasping when you exhale. Okay, so let me just turn around so you can see what it's going to look like. So you're going to grab your knees, okay? And the knees are going to be down. You can sit in a chair to do this. And you inhale deeply, allowing the belly to expand. The tongue is pressed up against the palate behind the upper teeth. Now there's a very particular tongue position, and you want to hold this for each time you inhale. Hold it for the whole time so that it is pressing against meridian points that are in the upper palate that affect the brain functioning positively. So this is a particular way that we hold our tongue when we're doing this movement. And so we inhale, allowing the belly to expand. Hold the breath, pushing the tongue up against the palate behind the upper teeth. Don't let the air leak out at all when you're doing this, okay? Don't let any air leak out. Close your eyes and just turn them up gently to the point between the brow that stimulates your pituitary gland. And then just, when you're holding your breath, flex your spine, or imagine you're pushing your heart forward and your chest forward and back, forward and back. So it looks like this. And let's do this for 3 minutes, okay? Do it with me. I'll set a timer. Okay. So when you need to and you can't hold your breath any longer, exhale fully through the nose, okay? Inhale again. Flex the spine. Push the tongue up against the palate. You might want to take a moment in between before you take the next breath if you need to. Inhale again. Keep that chin tucked in, okay? Don't allow your chin to be jutting out every time you move your spine forward. Once more. Press that tongue up. Inhale again. Again. Make sure you get a full exhale, removing those toxins from the lungs. Once more. And inhale deeply. Exhale. So that's a good workout. That's only 3 minutes, but you probably feel quite exhausted after that. So it does take time to work up to building, like let's say, do that 3 minutes a day for a few days, and then increase to 4 minutes, and then for a few days do that, and then increase to 5 minutes, and gradually build up until you can do it for 11 minutes a day. And it's so very cleansing. So this is just one of the many, many, many techniques, yogic techniques, Kundalini yoga techniques that I can teach. And just remember that I have the one-on-one programs. One is the soul's yearning for inner guidance for women, especially who want to develop clarity in their life and to look to find out their strengths and their assets and their challenges, and to develop goals for their future, to see which direction they should be going and what is their life path really meant to be. And the other program I have is the chakra healing program, which is if you have any kind of pain in your life, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, I can develop individually designed programs for you that you can do at home. And we have 8 sessions together where we look very deeply into different aspects of the chakras and how your weakest chakra is affecting you and how to strengthen it. So there's a really amazing programs, and I also have the one-on-one mini intensive where I will just develop a program for you to do at home based on your needs, and then you would be on your own. So the difference between the 8 session and the mini intensive is, of course, that with the 8 sessions you get a lot more personal support, and I can do this in person, live with you, or I can do it via Skype. So please contact me through the Kundalini Yoga Halifax Facebook page, and if you're interested, and we can chat about it. Okay, Satnam. Truth is our identity.